And we're live. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Chapter 3 of The One Ring. This is our second Age tale using the One Ring RPG system, 2nd edition by Free League. Check it out. Also, check out Blades and Blasters YouTube channel. We have hundreds and hundreds of live plays there. No matter your taste, you're sure to find something that you like. And without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and get started in this game. Introduction. There we go. And so it was that the sea both saved our heroes and cast their doom, for destiny crept upon the backs of Targon, Baranor, and Hallas, perhaps without them knowing it. So is the case with such things. In an age to come, the actions of the small would rule the fate of the great. And in this age it was no different. Though not kings or elf lords, the brothers of Halth Irminzula, probably butchered that, played a part no less important than any man who ever sat upon a dais. For in those days, many thought that evil had forsaken Middle-earth. They thought that if not vanquished, then at least the shadow had retreated beyond all seeing eyes, and would not need be considered for many lives of men. But they were wrong. The charms of the enemy are ever seductive, and the case of Baranor was no different. Bearing a pendant laced with the curse of shadow, wickedness started to work its machinations upon his heart, sowing discord between brothers, casting doubt upon strangers, though at times they meant no ill will. Now see them drawn up from the ocean by an old stranger. See them dragged, wet and struggling, upon a boat, and see them cast upon the shore, dripping and tired. They look out onto the bay and see the last pieces of the western star sink beneath gentle blue waves, even as the monster that caused such ill favor swims away into the inky gloom. They spy the fleet of Aldarion still upon the horizon. "Well now," says the old stranger, "what an unexpected surprise." The scene is one of this. You are up on the shoreline, looking up on the hills, the low hills that lay to the north. There are pine trees that reach into the sky, and you see the tops of towers as well above the pine trees, although you see no smoke rising from them, you hear no voices. The area seems oddly abandoned except for this old man that stands in front of you, looming tall, garbed in blue, as he pulls you upon his dinghy and rows you ashore. Take it away.
Baranor, as he gets pulled ashore, on this little lifeboat, life raft, um, it barely stays afloat. It's got a bunch of holes in it. Um, you know, he's exhausted fighting the beast that was underneath the waves. Um, who are you?
Who am I? Well, I dare say I may ask to the three of you drowned rats the same. There will be time for chatter and for smoking, and maybe even a drink, but only if you have it. Why don't we get you upon the shore? Get you dried off and warm. That thing out there at sea is something I've only seen in my imagination. My memory is not what it was once upon a time. In fact, it all too often runs away altogether to the horizon, the northern horizon, the southern horizon, the east and west. What was your name again, did you say? Good sir?
Pardon my manners. My name is Baranor of House Nimruzir. I wish we met under better circumstances, old man. But they are what they are. And with that, Baranor jumps out into the water and starts dragging the life raft towards the shore.
Targon's sitting in the stern of out at the horizon, and he's just feeling that fate is feeling that his fortunes were his and his family's fortunes were on the up. Here they were, he was commanding a ship, and Baranor and Hallas were key members of the crew, and together they were going to make their mark. And then in an instant, fell creature just shattered dreams he feels, and now he sees the rest of his people just so far. And he turns to the old man and says, "I thank you for your aid. I cannot help but question why you should happen upon us at just this moment."
What's Hallas doing?
Hallas sitting there checking his gear after he got a good soaking. Brought on the boat to help the old man. Hearing Targon mention that, he'll look at the old man. Yes, that's almost seemed like magic. You're right there. We needed you the most. Very peculiar.
Perhaps that is the way we were meant to see. What is your business with us, old man?
A business with you? I have no business with you, per se. I, of course, could have let you drown there at sea. I saw that beast who dived beneath the waves. Fled. Must have been scared of you, young man, yeah, I dare say. But he fled nonetheless. I could have left you there for the sharks or the fish, who would soon feast upon your entrails after the sharks were done. But I thought, being a kindly old man, I would row my little boat out and lend you a favor. As I said, I would like to get you dried off, warmed up. We can talk more at my camp. But you are a suspicious bunch. Tell me one thing, and I will tell you one thing about myself. Those boats on the horizon, little spots there, black specks upon a deep, deep, dark ocean. From where do you hail?
We hail from far west of here, and that few on these shore have ever heard.
You are not of this Middle Earth?
No, we are of Westerness.
No, he says with perfect pronunciation. Ah, yes. Numenore, the land of gift. I am familiar with that place, though I have not stepped upon it. It seems emblazoned upon my mind. A star in the great blue ocean. A star whose fate yet is to be decided, though. As I told you, my memory fails me more often than not. I cannot tell you how I have these impressions in my mind. Perhaps we can help each other, no? I do have food, although likely not victuals such as you are used to. Are you a captain then, young sir? He looks at Targon.
And Targon looks at the wreckage of the ship and the few men that struggled ashore with them. Says, "I do not think I can call myself that any longer. But I was appointed one, yes. Ended in disaster, as you can see. Thus fate mocks me and our house."
Ah! But, young sir, it is an ill-favored captain who gives up the quest after the first obstacle. You may trip on a log, snag your foot on a misshapen route. But get thyself up, dust thyself off, young man. That is the way of things, yes?
Targon nods thoughtfully and seems to be weighing this man over, weighing him up again. Nods and yes, even so. I have forgotten my manners. I apologize. There is much that has befallen us for the ill, and it has shaped my thoughts along dark paths. You have rescued us. For that, you have my gratitude.
Well then, until someone from your fleet makes their way ashore, I suppose we will have a few peaceful moments here among the tall pine trees. Ah, yes. The scent of spring heavy in my nostrils. It is a delight. Although, considering the circumstances, you may not notice it as much as I do. Do you think your Lord, he just kind of tries to find the right word, will send help for you? He kind of puts his hat beneath his wide-brimmed hat and kind of looks out onto the horizon. I see no boats being lowered into the water. It would be an ill-favored lord to abandon his own.
Such is not our way, but I fear that any who saw what befell our ship would not expect there to be survivors. Cannot help but think he thinks us dead.
Oh, perhaps we can remedy that if you would so choose. But first, kind of slaps his hands together. You notice long fingers with prominent joints. The skin is weathered, but the hands appear exquisitely strong. And he reaches down into the dinghy and brings the staff up and plants the staff down into the beach. It sinks 6 inches into the sandy soil, and he kind of lifts the hem up of his cloak. Oh, follow me, I know the way. I have a camp, less than a league inland. Get you warmed up. Perhaps a signal fire would draw your friends, but I will leave that to you.
Advice is sound, thank you. And Targon's making an effort. He's trying to be thankful for being saved, but he's still got this itch in the back of his head. You know, this man is in league with the Shadow, and the whole thing was to lure them into some kind of trap. And he realizes it's just completely far-fetched, but still can't shake it at the back of his head. So he's coming across as kind of uneasily, reluctantly polite.
As the old man kind of looks over his shoulder towards Hallas and Baranor, what does he spy of your manners, moods, and emotions?
Hallas is looking wet, tired, and frustrated because the ship went down and the beast took some men, and of course he's wet and damp and wanting to dry off. But he keeps eyeballing the conversation, picking up on what Targon's saying, and totally agreeing with him that something is out of place.
Baranor has an air of defeat about him. It's as if something very heavy is pulling him down. Every step he's taking onto land seems labored, but there's no heavy sack or object he seems to be carrying, to the naked eye. Eventually, once he's able to drag their life raft onto the shore, he sits heavily down and looks back towards the water where their ship was, and then looks out towards the horizon where Aldarion's ships are. And without realizing it, almost incapable of fighting it, as he's sitting there staring out into the sea towards the horizon, the entire night, the first night they spent on the banks of the Guatlo, when they saw that accursed creature that was floating in the river, the entire night plays out in his head. And he kind of whips his head around and stares intently at Targon while Targon is talking to the old man. And Baranor holds that gaze for a while, and then he kind of shakes his head and kind of forces himself to snap out of it. He gets off the ground with a sigh. Come, Hallas. Let us be away from these cursed waters. And as he's kind of making his way up towards where Targon and the old man are talking, he kind of overhears them saying something about signaling the ships. And he says, no, we must not do that. The creature that attacked us might still be lying in wait. Let Aldarion think that we are dead, succumb to the beast at the bottom of the ocean. Let him continue his journey. Maybe he might fare better than us. We know where he's going. We know where his final port of call is. We'll make our way there. It is going to take him some time. But for now, yes. And he kind of looks around and looks at Targon and Hallas. We are cold, we are weary, we are dejected. And then he kind of looks to the old man, and his facial expression changes. He kind of, his demeanor changes as well. His voice changes like a little bit. Targon would obviously notice them because he's his brother. It's as if something else is, adding that layer of nicety to Baranor's speech. We welcome your help, old man. Do forgive our demeanor. As my brother, the captain of our party, would have explained, ill favor has shadowed our steps every way on this Middle Earth. And sometimes even fair men of brave nature and large hearts do succumb to these ills. Come, if you would be so kind to lead us to your camp with some warmth to sit by and some food to eat, I think we can all get back to our usual selves, and you will find us more pleasant company. For Targon, this kind of speech is very strange coming from Baranor's lips. It's very flowery, very something Targon would say more often than Baranor.
Targon's looking at Baranor uneasily, because he's come to suspect a supernatural explanation for everything driving that first night. Kind of looks at him and kind of almost shakes his head slightly, almost imperceptibly, and then shivers. Bo, did any of the crew survive? If so, did they make it on this boat, or did they get picked up by the fleet?
That's a good point. Let me see if they did survive or not. No.
Ooh.
Absolutely everybody died except you.
Oh shit!
Ill-favored.
Ill-favored. Wasn't planning on that, but leave it to fate.
So
it tracks.
So just like a small retcon again. Baranor does something which is very different. Before we leave this place, maybe it is time we offered some prayers to our brothers who have fallen.
Yes. To our fallen, that is. To the sea, to the beast.
I think you guys all need to make a shadow test. Because you would probably expect to see some people like swimming around out there, right?
Yeah.
And it's nothing. And like even the waves kind of lapping up against the shore, you look down, and it has an oily look to it. And as you look further, there's just blood in the water. You can see sharks start to circle out in the bay. Rack up that shadow.
Yeah, how do you do that? Wits?
Wisdom for this one, yeah. Heaviness upon thine heart.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Targon, you're still set to wary. I don't know if you should be or not.
I don't think
You.
It fits the mood.
Hold on, let me have a quick look. No, hold on.
How much shadow is that? Fuck.
Just one.
I've got 7 now.
I got 7 as well.
I'm still going strong.
which makes a ton of sense.
So the old man kind of stops on that rocky precipice and looks back over his shoulder and stops. He takes 2 hands and plants his staff in the grass now. It's an old gnarled staff. It looks like to me a weight of like white driftwood, and the top of it kind of is splayed out in a gnarl of roots. And he goes, and he listens to Baranor's. Just unclick the wary then. I think it's Control or Alt to unclick it probably. Looks down at you guys, kind of offering your remembrances or prayers or tribute out over the water. And he kind of says to himself, so quick to spare their lord pain, but also heedless of the others' pain they may feel in their absence. A queer bunch. And a bird coming like alights on his left shoulder, and he goes, yes, we watched them closely, very closely. Of Westerners they are. Amazing. Yep, you're weary from your load, probably from wounds, plus all your armor and stuff.
Yeah.
Narratively, you can remove it, and you'll be unwary. You can probably do that on the sheet too.
It sounds like I should be though, right?
Yeah, but what's driving it up is probably the armor and stuff you're wearing.
Oh, I see. So, right, remove the armor. I thought you meant just remove the weary. Yeah.
Yeah, like once we get back to camp, you can remove it. But like if you go get in a fight, you're probably gonna put it back on.
Yeah.
But if you hang out a few nights or whatever, you can get some natural healing because you're not really wounded.
Yeah.
You just have some endurance loss, so it's gonna accrue again pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think once get clear, I'll take it off first.
Baranor stands, picks a spot which is kind of like maybe a ledge, a cliff that's overlooking that entire mouth of the fjord. Let's call it a fjord where they got attacked and they eventually made it inland. He kneels to both his, kneels down, takes his sword out and places it to his right side, the hilt facing the water. O brothers of Numenor, O sons of Westerness, we may not have set on this journey towards the fate we expected. We may have deserved more than what we got. And you may have led your lives in the service of House Nimrazir. But know this, that your bravery will never be forgotten. Your acts of courage will always be sung by those that remain. For I do not know if you are the lucky, for you do not have to bear this load that I bear in your absence. O sons of Numenor, you shall always live in our hearts. And with that, Baranor bows, gets up, picks his sword, sheathes it, turns around and starts walking towards the old man.
Targon was quiet while Baranor was saying these words, and he's still getting the impression, the feeling that Baranor's a bit more and kind of disturbing him a little bit, but he listens to the words and stays silent. And once Baranor's finished and turns and walks off, he just spends a moment looking out at the sea, looks down at the blood in the water, sharks, stands for a moment silently, and then looks off towards the ships and further than their destination, and back down to the wine red.
Hallas, who was kneeled down next to the water with his hand kind of in it, while Baranor was saying the words, kind of stares at the water, and once he hears Baranor stop and turn to walk away, and Targon walks away, he'll stand up and give one last look to the horizon and give it a nod back where the ship was, and knowing that all those souls went down during the adventure, and turns around and starts heading with the group.
You've seen change. the sound works. Fireplace. Pretty loud.
Yeah, it sounded more like burning building.
Trying to find a way to library.
In this case, more like a forest fire.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how like campfire turns into forest fire. Yeah.
Fireplace. Plus add
Is
to.
this Middle Earth or Southern California?
Yeah, it's a little better. Crackling fire, not a raging inferno. So the old man again lifts the hem of his heavy cloak and leads you away from the ocean. You see again the ships on the horizon, but as you go into the forest, they're lost behind the swaying forms of dark trees. The sun overhead is 3/4 of the way towards the horizon in the west and casting long shadows to the east. To the east where, some sort of threat, some gloom, some shadow lies. Eventually the old man strikes a path and the walking is much easier. You journey for about a league. To either side of you are birch trees and pine trees, and every now and again you see a statue, for lack of a better term, erected near the path of squat, muscled men with long hair that seem to be tied behind their head. And the statues are mostly covered with moss, and the stone is aged. They have quite certainly an ancient look about them. The old man threads his way to and fro around the statues. Eventually you see a crackling fire up ahead, and you see a lean-to and a kind of a hastily erected shadow that is leaned against an outcropping of rock. You see some baskets there, some jars. You see a few other cloaks, varying shades of blue, strung up, swaying in what breeze there is to dry. It looks like he's been camping there for some time, but it doesn't look like a permanent camp. As you go up the why don't you guys give me lore checks, if you would like, to know about these statues. It's going to be difficult, so it's going to be at a negative 1 dice penalty. But Baranor, you'll get your blessing for sure on this one. Blessing is a +2, so it'd be a +1 net for you.
+1, yeah, +1.
Yeah. Fail. Fail. Great success. Makes sense because Hallas is a well-traveled gentleman, aren't you, Hallas? You've sailed the seas.
Sailed the seas and walked the lands.
Many times before. You have heard tales of these sorts of totems near the southwest coast of Middle-earth. And these are rumored to be ancient inhabitants of the land, very closely tied to the lands. Human, but unlike other humans you've seen before. They're known colloquially as the wood woses that live in the mountains to the north. The other term that you may know them as is the Druedain. They live in this area, and they rumored to be an offshoot, quote-unquote, race who kind of did not serve Morgoth in the First Age when the races of men went west across Middle-earth to serve the Dark Lord in his armies. But rather, they stayed in the mountains, hidden, kind of developing a culture unto themselves. The rumor that you've heard is that they're very savage, rudimentary folk mostly to be ignored, but they are a curiosity nonetheless. So I'll let you do with that knowledge what you will.
Yeah, Hallas. Seeing a statue. Druedain. Old man, do you see a lot of Druedain around here?
Hmm? Ah, the man of Numenore knows of the Druedain. I suppose all wisdom has not left that isle. I have seen a few of them around here. They are sparse indeed, though. What irks me is that 10 years ago, when I roamed these hills, they were as thick as these pine trees that sway overhead. I have seen one. His named himself Buka-gan, but he deigned not to conversate with me. Perhaps it was the manner of my coming, I know not. But I also wonder what happened to them. That is the one reason I tarry in these hills, even though my old friend has journeyed far to the east.
You hope to discover why they are not as numerous as they used to be?
Suppose so. It is one of the reasons I am here, after all. Are you not here to help the things that live and grow and crawl and fly upon the earth? And what was your name again, seaman? You are well-traveled indeed, and though there is salt and pepper in your hair, I do not think you are as old as me.
No, not quite. At least I don't think. But my name is Hallas, of House Hallas. He kind of smiles when he says it and looks over at his two friends. Yes, I've been around. I've seen these statues before, although I have not ran into one of them. But I too have heard the numbers were great, and now they're more reclusive. But I don't know much about them. Not as much as you, of course.
You assume much, Hallas of Sir House Hallas. Does it appear that there are so many years upon my brow that I know all the histories of this land? Nay, what lies in yonder mountains perhaps surpasses even my own knowledge and my own wisdom. For I cannot surmise away the race of men followed one such as the Dark Lord in ancient times. You would not do so, would you? And he kind of turns and pointedly looks at Baranor and gives you a very kindly smile, as if he knows what weighs upon your heart, or at least senses something off about you.
No. And again, Baranor seems to be very lost, and he's. I'm sorry, old man. What was that you said?
Lost in your own thoughts. It's been a long day. And the shadow weighs heavy on your heart. I suppose that's not unexpected. He looks
Yes.
overhead, and the sun is starting to set. Yeah, she was saying?
We came to these lands looking to better our lot. It seems with every journey, we lose something along the way. Don't we, Targon?
Targon is busy drying his armor, but he has been looking at, kind of half listening to the conversation. Yeah. It appears we have lost much the moment we landed on the shores. Our home, we had innocent, bright ideas. The aspirations of youth. Store the fortunes of our house. The moment we landed on the shores of this Middle Earth, and his lip just curls slightly in the desert. Land that I thought to be the land of opportunity. Ever since we have arrived here, Shadow has been mocking. Regret my choices. Regret that I brought you here, brother. And you, Hallas, old friend.
And as you see Hallas still has his armor on. And he's watching as yours is drying. That's where you're mistaken. Adventure. It calls its own. Sure, maybe you'll encourage Baranor to accompany you, but Baranor is adventurer just as much as you are. And sure, I may be here with you, but I would have been here regardless. Maybe not on the land or in the water at the time, but that's just fate. Don't be too hard on you. There is nothing to be sorry about. Adventures are only adventures if there's some type of something to overcome. Something to have victory with.
It's true. I've spent many years studying the tales of the heroes of old, and you're right. Their deeds are measured by the evil they mastered, the ill fortune that they... You're wise, Hallas. Thank you.
Yes, so start beating yourself up and keep your chin up. And he'll look over at Baranor. Ain't that right, friend?
Yes, it is right. And maybe therein lies the answer. That we have been laboring under old assumptions. We have been looking to see what we can get from this land to take back, not what we can make for ourselves in this land. And to Targon, that line will stand out. This would be the first time that Baranor is saying something along the lines of almost like doubling down.
And yeah, I guess for Targon, this is probably them taking up almost opposite positions to take, and it kind of Targon's eyes widen a little bit as makes me think of something our prince said. We are here to share with people of Middle Earth. I confess I find it not easily trust them, seeing the corruption that plays upon lands, but perhaps I am wrong. And then he suddenly seems to just... You're not sure whether he's deliberately changing the subject or whether something just occurred to him, but he suddenly just looks up and looks across at the old man and says, I must ask, sir, you appear to be alone out here, a long way from any town or city that I know of, not that I know these lands well. Are you not afraid to be out here by yourself? Lone traveller, no sword, no armour, and, you'll forgive my saying so, a little more advanced in years than a man in warrior in his prime.
He gives a smile to you guys, and it's as if his smile fills your heart with gladness. And mechanically, you guys all get a short rest as you rest against his fire. Take a short rest, so that let's see, that gives you endurance points equal to strength back. So that's good. The old man kind of chuckles. He starts slow at first, and then he laughs longer and harder. Advanced in years. I am indeed. Although, for the third time, I will mention that my memory has failed me, I must confess. I know not how many years I have seen. These old boots have traveled long leagues, and that I know. This beard has grown long over many years, I know that. And this hat, weather-beaten, blue though it may be, it has been under many summer suns. Now that you mention fear. Fear is something that I don't have time for, young man. I was sent here for a reason. Fear would only get in the way. But listening to the three of you talk, I had written the race of men off, consigned them to history. In ages past, they were betrayers, heroes, yes, but their hearts ever tend toward darkness and shadow. But listen to the three of you talk, even though I know that heaviness and shadow and gloom needles its way into your souls. There is still a depth to you, a depth not unlike the seas, not unlike the roots of mountains. He kind of looks to the north where the white mountains silhouettes are cast in a silver light as the sun sets and the moon starts to rise. No, I am not afraid, but perhaps I should be. There are rumors of evil things about. But as you said, what good is a quest and a journey? What good is one's purpose? Is to not slay the dragon, face the beast, tame the wilderness while at the same time living in it. I'm going to stay here for the time being, although I said my friend has traveled to the east. He's more fanciful than I. You have heard of the Druedain. Have you heard of the Ents? The Ent wives, mayhap? You guys can all make another lore check, this time at just regular difficulty. Both Baranor and Hallas know. Baranor, you know quite a bit. A great success actually counts as a magical success if it's from a magical item. So, in real life, you know about the Ents. I'm going to let this old man know what you know about the Ents and the Ent wives, and make it seem magical how you know this. Because you probably don't, right?
Yeah. Baranor, looks into the fire, and when the old man says Ent and Ent wives, he smiles and gets up, looks around as if he's searching for something, but at the same time he's searching because something seems to be calling him, and the way he's behaving at this point, everybody's eyes just kind of lock to him, right? Lock to him and start following his movements. He starts circling around the camp, around the fire, and he finds a tree, a tall tree, and walks up to it, touches it with it on. Yeah, yes, indeed. The Ents and the Entwives. Much do they know of this land. Much they have seen. Much they wish to tell us. But time will not permit, for they are slow in speech, long in memories. Deep do they slumber. Rarely do they show themselves. Many have gone in search, few have returned. Forest keepers, tree whisperers, herders, wardens, protectors. Yes, I know what you speak about, old man. These trees know what you speak about. And all this while, again, Baranor is acting very unlike himself. He kind of moves his hand away from the tree, shakes his head a little bit, and kind of comes back and sits in front of the fire and starts staring into it. Almost in the same position and body language before he got up, like as if that entire exchange didn't happen from his body language.
The old man kind of leans forward and leans some of his weight on his staff, and he looks into Baranor's eyes and says, "Boy, LOTR." He says it so. If you guys want to role play knowing what he said, but he's saying it under his breath, like he doesn't want you to hear, but you might be able to hear it if you want to role play wise. I've been around since the song that brought this all to being, and the heart of man never ceases to surprise me. Unless this is some devilry at work here. You know much, sailor. I know of your friend Hallas of House Hallas here, but what of you, and this man to your right, who bears your likeness? Are you of the same mother, of the same blood, or do mine eyes deceive me? If he is half as wise as you are, young man, then I have met my match of wits. That does not happen often. Or, perhaps it does. I spend more time among the birds and the squirrels than men of your ilk. Pray tell, of what house do you hail in Westerness?
We are indeed brothers of the same blood and the same mother. We hail from the house of Nimruzir. Much has been said about our house, and much has been unsaid about our house. My brother and I are here to right past wrongs and to forge a new journey. But I am not as wise as my brother.
And then Targon, you don't think he necessarily even means to say it out loud, but he just kind of blurts out, Doubt that. Certainly more eloquent, brother. Sudden. And he said it with concern in his eyes. Seems an odd thing to be concerned about, but it's just the strangeness of it.
It is this land. It is the people I meet. The things we've done. I fear eloquence may be our shield and sword to the ills that await us. Our bows, our steel, our armor has helped us so far. What do I know? And kind of Baranor snaps out of it. You said something about drink and food, old man? I see neither.
Drink and food? Oh, yes, yes. I nearly forgot. I have much of both. I shall fetch it. But do you have a smoke? You probably do, but it's like all wet.
Yeah. It was worthy of partaking before the beast fell upon us. Now it is just wet leaves in a leather pouch. I will lay it out here and let it dry so we may smoke it in the morning and welcome the sun together.
No. Oh, very well. In the meantime, let me fetch you what I have. Along with several crusts of bread. I believe I have some cheese here. And some dried meat. I pray not tell you what sort of animal it is, but here. And he kind of gets up and goes back to his hovel and rummages around in a few burlap sacks and comes back with like a wheel of rustic looking cheese and some bread that doesn't look fresh, but it doesn't look mealy or wormy. It looks well kept. And he passes around a pouch of tobacco as well. Far from the north of there's a rustic weed growing. I suppose in ages to come it will be quite famous. He kind of puts it in his pipe and blows a smoke ring, and it goes out. And there's like a ship that sails off up into the pines, and he blows another one and laughs. And then it's like 10 year-olds come up from the smoke and pull the ship down, and it just dissipates.
Targon's quite taken aback by that. Feels too soon. He looks at it, but he's really wondering quite a lot through this person. And did we hear the bit where he said, "I've been here since the song that started all this"? And if so, does that mean anything?
Yes, you would know that lore as a Numenorean. Yeah.
But yeah, that just seems too incredible to be true. So Targon just assumes that the old man's perhaps a bit addled. But he does seem to be quite fey. Targon's a little bit wary of him. You have alluded, sir, a few times. He's now calling him. You've alluded, sir, a few times to a purpose here. You perhaps be able to share that with us? And why your companion, perhaps a companion of many years, has sought his purpose elsewhere?
Yes. Puffs on his pipe. I suppose that honesty deserves honesty. One good turn deserves another. Yes, my companion. He is known by many names. I call him Palando. ever the explorer, curious. He's the bookish sort. He cares not as much for the living things as I do, but he is a good one. Yes, he traveled to the east long ago. I suppose I will travel to the east at some point and meet him, but I do not have the focus that he does. I became enamored of this west coast of Middle-earth, of the mountains, of the Druedain, even the elves that dwell in the north, though I have rarely met with them. Ah, my purpose, yes. My name, they call me Alatar. I was sent here some years ago. I woke up on a riverbed, stared at the stars, and my mind was filled with a light, brilliant, like all the jewels of the earth shining at once, catching the radiance of the sun and the moon and the stars simultaneously. And then I knew I was to wander here, help those not unlike yourself, and prevent the corruption of this Middle-earth, as unfortunately in ages past happened all too often. But, like I said, it is a small thing. Baranor, Hallas, and you, whatever your name is, I suppose you try to do the same, right? The men of Numenor are known to be righteous, valiant, wise.
Forgive me, I have lost my manners. I am Targon. That's Numenoreans. And once again, I must thank you for our rescue. Fear that I have... perhaps not, not carried myself well here. And he kind of tails off a little bit. Since I find myself more and more missing my home, I grow wearier and lower of spirits, my manners have suffered with it. That I can but ask forgiveness. But I thank you again for our rescue. Our aid was timely.
Thanks is appreciated, although not necessary. As I alluded to, I am simply serving my purpose. Like these trees here serve their purpose. They hold the soil firmly with their roots. They provide shade during the day, a nesting place for the birds, and fresh air with the scent of pine for us to breathe. Yes. This world is wonderful. It is great, but there are those who wish harm to it, and it is my place to stand against it. Well, now, you all are looking less like bedraggled rats. I suggest you slumber. I'm going to go on a walk myself. I do have smoke left. Help yourself to it. In the morning, we will chat more.
Thank you. Thank you for your hospitality. And Targon's kind of managed to dry off his jerkin a little bit, taking his armor off. And so he's going to sit up a little bit and just try and dry off a bit before he tries to sleep. Sleeping in wet clothes is horrible. So he stays up a little while to dry off. He is definitely mystified by Alatar and concerned.
Yeah, Hallas is never removed his armor and dry off or anything because he knows he's in the the wilderness and stuff could happen. He kind of cozies up next to the fire, hoping that it dries and he warms at the same time. Still, the thoughts of the day weigh heavily on him as he starts trying to drift off to sleep, knowing that tomorrow brings another day and a new set of challenges.
Anything from Baranor?
Baranor continues to stare into the fire, oblivious of his brother and Hallas. Eventually, sleep starts making his eyelids heavy and he cannot stay awake. He cannot remember how he knows about the Ents and the Entwives. He has no recollection of anybody called Druedain, of Alatar. His mind is clouded and foggy. He sees himself say things, but he's not sure how he's able to say these things. Eventually, he kind of puts it down to just tiredness and shock from the attack. He lays by the fire pretty close to it, so he's warm, curls up, and as he's falling asleep, the wolf pendant kind of pops out of his tunic, kind of hits, touches the ground. He holds it for a little while in his hands and stares into the bejeweled eyes of the wolf. And holding that pendant in his hand, he falls asleep.
And the night deepens, the moon rises, the sun sinks behind the white mountains. The sounds of the night grow louder in your ears until that white noise, that sound of nature, just drifts you off to sleep. And all of your endurance is restored. Nobody's wounded, correct? I don't believe anybody's wounded. Until the sun starts again to rise in the east. And the fire dies. Hallas, you are the first to awake. And you are getting poked with a spear. You! Up! Up!
Hallas slowly opens one eye, realizing that he's getting poked.
Hands!
Hallas, I need my hands to stand up, friend.
Pokes you again with the spear.
He'll kind of nod and roll over and try to help himself up as much as possible. Easy there, friend. We mean no business to you.
It's very clear this is not his language. And then he speaks fluently, a language that is at once beautiful, but at the same time completely incomprehensible to you. And he seems to shout it unto the trees. I'm not even going to pretend to speak another language, but he kind of speaks broken Westron, whatever to you.
All right.
Your friends. Where's old man?
Old man was here when we were sleeping. I have no idea where he went afterwards.
Wake your friends.
Hallas will kind of shuffle to the one side to kick Baranor, and he gives him a few good kicks. Baranor, we have company. Do not be alarmed.
Baranor kind of shakes his head and sees the sun streaming down between the trees and the leaves, and hears Hallas talking, and still a little uh, groggy. How what? Who's here? And he kind of looks around and he sees this strange looking man. Who are you?
I am Buka-gan. Who are you?
I am Baranor. And Baranor sees Targon, and he says, Targon, we have company.
And Targon flies and up. And when he sees someone just so close and so sort of unfamiliar, he instantly kind of sits up and half unsheathes his sword. Pauses. Kind of probably up on one knee. Sword is kind of half drawn, and he pauses there. Manner of and then he pauses and looks at the statue and presumably sees how similar this man looks to the statue. Ah, you are one of the local people.
Yes. And you see several of them kind of slowly emerging from the woods. They have short swords, some of them. Some of them have spears. A few of them have maces. They have leather armor on, in a totally different garb than the Numenoreans, of course. Some of them have furs, expertly made kind of outfits on. Some of them are brightly colored. Others almost look like ghillie suits. He says, "Where is the man with white beard?"
As I told you, friend, he was here overnight. No idea where he's off to now.
Put away your sword. You will not need it here. We are friends. No? You are a friend of the man with the beard?
He saved us. We are in his debt. Targon resheathes his sword and realizes that even if they meant him harm, he couldn't fight this man. He sort of picks it up and he puts his shield back on his back. He's got his armor on. And he looks to the man, and he sort of pauses and remembers his poor manners with the old man, and kind of with a little bit of an obvious effort, he bows and says, "I am Targon, House Nimrazir, from over the sea."
Kind of looks around to the other Druedain that have emerged from the forest. All of them are shorter than you. Some of them are really stout. Some of them are a little thinner. All of them seem to move with a practiced grace and austerity that is probably very rare for you to see how at home they are in nature here. I have not heard of this place. We do not sail. We found ourselves at home in these mountains. These trees provide us shelter, and the beasts provide food. He kind of goes over to one of the women who has emerged. A very old woman. You probably would think she's like a wise woman of sorts, and he returns to you. We hoped to treat with the wizard, but alas, he has left. Oh, how we rue our actions so far. Too shy we were, too mistrusting. But he has proven himself.
When they say wizard, does that actually mean?
You know what a wizard is? There are schools of magic, both in Numenor and far to the east. Numenor, obviously, it's shunned. But the magic is a thing. There are those who gaze at the stars to tell the future. In Numenor, it's laughed at for the most part, but there are rumors of the dark arts and of those who serve the shadow. Yes,
and we wouldn't know he meant wizard with a capital W, because I guess apart from them, virtually everything is kind of evil, isn't it? Targon will his lip curls and say, sorcerer, I should have known. And he looks to Baranor and Hallas. You feel well. He put a glamour on you as you slept.
Baranor kind of looks around, kind of like, moves his shoulder around, kind of moves his neck. I feel fine, brother. You
glad.
say a wizard, a sorcerer, but the man we met last night was very kind to us. He helped us in our time of predicament, gave us food, shelter, a fire to sit by. How can that be treacherous?
What mean you, sorcerer? I know not this word. I know only man who provides medicine, wise man, strong man, man who listens to the earth and the wind. This Longbeard arrived in a manner quite unpleasing, but he has helped mine kin.
And Targon laughs in relief. Says, I should have realized you are simple folk. Wizard to you, it matters not.
Not so simple as you. Perhaps we leave you here in the woods.
Buka-gan. And at this time, again, Baranor kind of steps forward.
Let's do council. Let's do a council. Let's see here. Councils. Introduce yourself, I believe, with courtesy or some such. Let me see here.
Is there a skill in condescension?
It's condescension. I use condescension skill. Council. Here we go.
Hello.
Council sequence. Set resistance. It's gonna be 4 for him. Introduction.
Hello, simple folk. I come from you from a more advanced and, dare I say, better society.
Allow my gaze to look down upon you.
There's the council table. Introduction. Spokesman represents a company. The role result sets time limit for the council. All to impress strangers quickly. Courtesy or riddle.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to do it. If it were Targon, he'd probably go for all.
Probably Baranor with his charm. I don't know.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's probably best if the now more charming Baranor.
It's a +2. It's a +2 for with whatever he has before. Either courtesy, riddle, or awe.
Yeah, I have only 1 in awe, but I can do a +2 on that, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll do awe +2.
Okay, Chris.
And a hope bonus die.
Oh, and you guys have 4 to spend from last.
Yeah, use it from the pool.
Yep. So now the pool is 3. And let's roll that.
Whoa. Extraordinary success. Time limit is equal to resistance of council set by limit +1 for each Tengwar. So extraordinary success. Let me see how many Tengwars you got. You got 2. So you have a time limit of 6. So 6 rolls to get 4 successes. So, okay. How do you role play this one?
1 minute. I just want to. Shit and hard. Do I have to roll, or other people can roll after me?
You guys can split up however you want. Use whatever skills you want during the interaction.
Okay, so I can do song for one, but the others, which is I mean, let's get this. Let's do the mechanical part before I start the role play. Enhearten. I don't have Enhearten. I don't have Insight or Persuade, but I have one in song.
You can do it. You can do the same one multiple times.
I got favor 3 in all.
Sweet.
2 in heart and favored.
Enhearten. Okay, so how many rolls you have to do? 6, correct?
Yep. You have to get 4
out of 6.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And so Hallas can do Enhearten, and then you can do Persuade, Targon.
Really? I've got 1 in it.
What about Insight?
Oh no, hold on, I'm favored. Yeah.
Whoa, that's good.
Okay, cool.
So which ones can we use? Any one of them?
Enhearten, Insight, Persuade, or Riddle, or Song.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so that's just the mechanical part. So I'll do Song, Hallas you'll do Enhearten, and Targon will do Persuade. Right? And then we'll just RP and then roll in between. So Baranor, as soon as Targon says like the word simple folk, Baranor kind of just just bows his head and shakes it a little, and he remembers this clearly from yesterday, where he had made this comment that it will be words and not shields and steel and bow that will win the day on this land, because it has not worked so far, and he cannot believe that Targon has missed that. So he's kind of already a little frustrated with Targon, and this is where it's starting. Like it's actually starting now, right? The at being at odds with his brother, and he sees Buka-gan like kind of reared towards Targon and his words. So Baranor stands to his full height, which easily towers over the rest of the Druedain, and he moves in his usual swift manner between Buka-gan and Targon, in a manner so swift that for anybody who's not a Numenorean would almost seem like it was swift like the wind. That is how he kind of enacts or creates that situation to generate awe among all these Druedain that have gathered here. He steps between Buka-gan and Targon and raises his right hand, very very akin to the statues from the movie, and he says, "Stay your anger, Buka-gan, stay your anger. My brother did not mean to call you a simple man. That was not what he meant. We are people from different lands. We use the same words, but the words mean different things in different lands. From where we come, wizards can be mischievous and not helpful, as it has been your experience. Stay your sword, Buka-gan, stay your sword. Stay your anger. We are new to this land, and we wish to meet and greet people like you and forge friendships and partnerships."
Buka-gan will stay his spear. I do not wish to spill blood here in the camp of this wizard. Buka-gan will hear your tale. Buka-gan's family is here, and over there. Do not show your steel again, or there will be stern words between us, and sterner still, my spear between your ribs, man. For I have seen your ilk before. Though you stand taller than I, do not think you are a better man. I have lived here, and my kin have been in these mountains before your father's 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 father was born. So say now, what is your purpose here, and why do you wish friendship with the Druedain, or as men know us, the roses of this wood?
Then come, sit by my side. Let your men stand guard, while my brother Targon, and he points very graciously towards Targon, and our friend Hallas, let us regale you with a story. And at the end of the story, you decide whether we are worthy to be your friends, or lest we fall here as your enemies.
Buka-gan will listen. And he goes and sits himself upon a boulder and sits cross-legged. Pray tell.
The evening was dark, was it not, Targon? As you, Hallas, and I were rowing ourselves down the Guatlo?
Targon's Targon's eyes widen. Do not think that is a tale for this night. And then he sort of realizes that Baranor probably wants him to tell about how they met the elves, and kind of there's a kind of like almost a double take and resets. And then oh yes, I recall the evening, and he begins to sort of talk about how they met the elves, but also throwing in a little bit of lore about how people were in past times friends of the elves, certainly fought alongside them. And we'll give just a little bit of kind of make a lore. Oh no, I'm doing a persuade, aren't I?
Fine. If you have good roleplay reasons for using other skills, that's completely fine to use those.
Yeah, because I
want.
wanted to throw in some lore because not just because I'm good at it, but also because
he's good at it.
Sorry?
I said also because he's good at it.
And because I'm good at it. But no, also because Targon does still think he's better than these people, so he wouldn't want to try and sort of persuade them so much as sort of like go, look, here's why we're kind of a big deal. And just give some of the history of throw that in.
Okay, big deal. Lay it on me.
Oof.
Even with it being favored?
Yep.
Oh, you rolled a 3 and a 1.
Yeah, there's a definite pattern to my rolls in this.
Kind of looks at you. As oftentimes one brother smart, the other dumb as a rock that I sit on. You must tell this man that his tongue wags, and I grow more ill-tempered by the minute.
Ah, Buka-gan. You shall see the valor of my brother pretty soon. So, after we met the elves, we made our way further up the Guatlo, till we reached a camp of woodsmen, of our kin, who have settled here and made this land their own, become a part of it, work in it, and find peace. There we made friends. We found what ails them. They were besieged by raiders from all sides. Raiders who would steal from them, hurt them, kill them, leave them maimed, And they did not have a wizard to support them, did not have a wizard to take care of their ills. And in steps Hallas. What did you do, Hallas?
Ah, yes. I remember that night well. The polar rundown village, at the mercy of the bandits. The many wounded and sick. The dead mothers and fathers. The village brought so low. Did not know what laid in front of them. Did not know that they could be easily won. But he'll stand up to look somewhat awe-inspiring and kind of do a little pace. When we arrived, we seen they broke down people. But with a little encouragement, we were able to muster them up, fill their hearts with hope. For that is all that is needed sometimes in battle. Especially a battle with the scum and the chateau. Hope. A hope never dies, though it does diminish until those who bring the wind to make it brighter. And there we were, telling them this, that their hope would get them through this, that their elbows and their hands would be able to fight the bandits, their legs be able to move with grace. For alas, the bandits never knew what happened to them. The men who were once scarred by Chateau embraced the hope, the light, and fought back against the bandits, saving many in their village with our help. But we didn't have to do it all. We were able to encourage them. Yes. Show them the light. Bring them out of the chateau. Into victory. Into peace. Peace that they should be able to maintain. Knowing that they are able to now. And he'll go on a little bit more. This is inherent, right?
Enhearten. This is the second roll.
I've got some RP ready if you happen to fail the roll.
Oh,
lovely.
Yes,
I think it counts.
the Dolph.
I think that counts as 2. Actually, a great success. At least it did in the old system. I'm not gonna look it up. We'll just count it as 2. That's 2 out of 4, and 1 failure. Buka-gan listens. Mayor, this man do not be your brother. He speaks with candid. He is candid when he speaks, and valorous. And he kind of hops up of his stone and comes over to you, Hallas, and looks up into your face. I sense no deception in him. He is a soldier. He has traveled long leagues. I see much in you. What is your name?
I am Hallas, of House Hallas. And he'll look at Baranor and Targon, smile.
Buka-gan. Buka-gan of these forests.
A joyous laughter from Hallas, knowing. Yes. Home is where your heart is, so they say.
Then
Each roll 10 war does still count as additional success, so you got 2 of them.
Nice. And then in the heat of the battle, our party was laid siege by the captain of the raiders, an evil man with malice in his heart, shadow upon his shoulders. He killed many innocent a night till Targon stood before him. Tell us that tale, Targon. Tell us what you did.
And Targon actually turns to Baranor and kind of makes a dismissive gesture with his hands. And I find, brother, that my appetite for tales is much diminished. I feel that you would tell the tale. Stares into the fire.
Baranor kind of cocks his eye at Targon. Very well. Stood there, Targon, my brother, against the onslaught of the raiders, with the village burning behind his back. And he met the raider captain one-on-one in combat. And he slew the raider captain where he stood.
Targon will just stare into the fire, and you notice that he just mutters at the last bit. He just mutters, "No mercy, shadow."
I'm going to use one more hope.
Nice.
Squeaker.
It's better to keep me out of the roll.
That's 3 successes. You only need one more.
Yep. And thus, Buka-gan, who I may call a friend at the end of this day, courage. Courage is what the three of us show. And with that, Baranor finds a rock and he jumps up on it. He's now making a big show of everything, and he kind of jumps up there. Courage is in everything the three of us do. We do not give up, we never quit. We will always see our mission through. Courage is in everything that we do, and we shall always see it through. We will choose what we say and who we say it to, even when words are sometimes hard to find. And with that, he looks at Targon. But kind words will always find their way when we are in good company, Buka-gan. For courage is who we are and what we do. Through words and actions, our will shall find a way. We are brave. We fight fear, and we fight the fear within us and outside of us. But when we speak the truth, courage finds its way. With that song, last roll. Shit. I'm going to use one more hope for this. Failure.
Thought you were better with song.
Yeah.
4 attempts. You got 2 more. Buka-gan kind of looks at Baron.
I think. Oh yeah, it was.
4 attempts, 3 successes, 2 failures, but you have the timeline of 6. Buka-gan kind of looks at Baranor. Ah! I trust you as a simple-spoken man until you presented yourself as a showman. We have a saying in these mountains. The bird that struts his feathers is not to be trusted. I prefer the words of a simple soldier.
And with that, Baranor just jumps out even higher. I have stood here quietly listening to your utterances. I have listened to you mock my brother. And with that, he is going to roll his awe again. The men of Numenor, the son of Westerness, shall bear no fools, with arms or without arms. Quiet your tongue, for we have entertained you enough. You wish to meet your death, then I shall be your death today. The choice is yours.
At first they come as
looks delighted.
At first they come as helpers, and then they came as tyrants.
Oh Lord.
Here we go.
The history of Numenor in one encounter.
They are cowed. Ah! All the sounds bad. It's almost like the Ewoks, you know. Oh, you don't do that. But they, Buka-gan says, "No, I mean you no ill will. And us, we came here seeking the wizard, but we mean no harm to you. We shall melt back into these forests if you so wish."
No, I do not
But
wish that.
We have been pursued enough. We have lost too many of our number to that which lurks beneath the mountains. We wished only to ask the wizard for aid. But yourself, no! Do not slay us.
And I shall not slay you. But I do request that you be humble, just as we have been humble to you. There is no
looks at you like you're not being humble. He kind of looks at you like, okay.
We probably think we have been though.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we have been humble enough.
We treated
to
them
simple folk.
We treated them almost as equals. I mean, come on.
Yes. If not, he says, yes, we offer you our friendship. It's obviously forced.
We shall wait here together for the wizard to return. After that, we shall hear your tale of woe. And if my brother wishes, we will impart aid. But if I were you, I would first apologize to him for the manner in which you have treated him and the words in which you have assailed his image.
Targon smiles at Baranor and thank you, brother.
I think for this whole prideful episode, you need a shadow point at least.
Yeah. It's coming.
Hit it.
I think I'll take one too because I should. I'm just thoroughly approving the thing.
Miserable. No. Yeah, miserable.
Are you miserable now?
Yep.
Heaven knows he's miserable.
Lord.
So you can consolidate those into a shadow scar if you would like. It becomes like a permanent shadow point. There's a fellowship undertaking to get rid of those too.
How many can you consolidate to a shadow scar?
All of them.
All of them into one shadow scar?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. So I have some role play for that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Buka-gan. Just, if you would like to wait for that wandering wizard, the old man, Buka-gan will stay hither. I only ask that my family be allowed to go. I do not want them caught up in this mess.
We are not some savages who would involve women and children.
Yeah.
Affairs that a man's arrogance.
You're worse than savages. You're worse. Buka-gan then says something in that foreign language, a Druedain, and then they melt into the forest, and it's like they were never there. And he kind of in a very resigned fashion, goes and tilts his spear up beside the stone statue. Once we lived here to ourselves. He kind of pats it with nary a worry. But how times have changed, my ancestors. How times have changed. He sits next to the fire, kind of dejected looking. How long do you plan to wait for this wizard? They keep their own schedules, you know.
I think that perhaps we can bide the time by educating you a little. Then Targon.
Oh, Christ.
Targon sets off on this long story of like the history of Numenor and how they are of this great and noble line, and and just get the whole thing of just like, we're basically better than. It's basically his whole thing. And he's, now that they've got the upper hand, he's not feeling at all resentful or anything. He feels a bit like, oh yeah, the poor man's just a man of the woods. He didn't know any better, but we can teach him better. And he hasn't really got the idea of what Aldarion was actually talking about with these people, but he's doing his version.
And as Targon is educating Buka-gan, Baranor is sitting cross-legged, looking into the embers of the fire. The fog of anger that was upon him seems to have dissipated, and he is now realizing what is happening. And with every word that Targon says about the greatness of Numenor, the greatness of the house Nimruzir, the greatness of the brothers, he feels a singeing pain on his chest. And it just keeps singeing, and he sits there, stone-faced, looking at Buka-gan and his brother. All along, the wolf medallion that has been allowing him to be so eloquent is burning his flesh as it's forming a scar of a wolf head on his chest. And that shall be my shadow scar.
You swallowed the pain. Now you're not miserable anymore. Internalized it.
Yep. And I think that shall be where the true divide will start growing as he watches his brother educate this person from the hills.
Targon doesn't realize he's basically bringing virtually a captive here. He thinks the person's finally come to their senses. He's educating them. Got a completely off perspective for the whole thing. And he's so carried away with it because this is the first thing that's felt good in a while that he's not even noticing Baranor. Normally he would notice it was other. He's still aware that things aren't right, but right in this moment he's not focusing on it, aware of it particularly. Focusing purely on giving Buka-gan chapter and verse about the glorious history of Numenor.
What's the third wheel thinking and feeling here?
Is he thinking once again he chose the wrong companions?
Yeah, watching the spectacle that was Baranor and turning everything, he kind of like as he threatens the group, but knowing that it's possibly a show. Hallas stands on guard for the moment, but then as everything starts settling down, he kind of shakes his head and thinks to himself what interesting companions he has chosen for this journey. But nonetheless, he is happy to be with them. As he looks over at Baranor and, knowing that something's not right with him, but then again, it's his journey as well, so he has obstacles to overcome and listens to Targon talk to the Buka-gan.
So you guys, poor Buka-gan sits there and gets lectured for most of the day. You guys share a few meals. Maybe you don't share it with him. He has to cook his own meal.
No, we'll share it with him. He's learnt the error of his ways.
That's not how you cook it. This is how you cook it.
Yeah. I know you wouldn't know, but here's how you actually did it.
He's only been living off this land for 2,000 years.
Yeah, but he hasn't been doing it right. I mean, he had no one to show him.
And the wizard doesn't return, and you guys light the fire, and eventually the moon comes out again, and whether you get apprehensive or not, it's hard to say. But then eventually you hear humming, and you hear but footfalls kind of coming down the path, and up the mountain, down the dale, around the hill, sing as well, beneath the stars under the gloom. I come hurroom, the trees sway, and come the day, the night shall pass. I feel the grass beneath my toes, I feel not woes. Where go the woes? Where go the woes? Oh! He kind of turns around the corner. There you are, Buka-gan. Speak of the woes, see the woes. And he kind of stands up to Alatar. Oh, wizard! He goes, I've met your new friends. They are impressive. He kind of looks at the three of you guys and senses like a little bit of few of his people I have met here, and one of the few has treated with me. I have not yet met his family, although he speaks highly of them.
Oh, we've been treating him warmly, of course.
That is good to know.
He is quite an interesting fellow, and so is his family.
You met his family? Buka-gan, you deny me the pleasure of thine wife and children? And yet you make company with these savages from Westerness? You are much more civilized than they.
Targon takes this as the highest irony and laughs his head off.
You think me a fool. Yeah, very well. Perhaps I am a fool. But also you mayhap wonder maybe where I have been over the past day.
Yes, you were left in the night. Must confess I had some concerns for your safety. Glad that they were unwarranted.
I said, fear is not something that weighs heavily upon my soul. And since you've met Buka-gan here, I suppose that he's used that word with you. Wizard.
Ah, yes. For a while I thought perhaps you were some dark sorcerer. Then I realized that these people use the word to mean a wise person. Someone who knows of herbs and the like. That allayed my fears.
Kind of with that, he kind of stands up and he plants his head of the staff in the fire and it raises up. He seems to grow 10 feet tall. Perhaps I am a dark sorcerer, Targon of House Numenoreans. I sense my friend here is afraid you have forgotten your manners. I'm just going to say magical success for all here with you guys.
Targon,
all three of you.
As soon as he's growing, with the flame and everything, he goes staggering back and draws his sword and hold it in a protective kind of, not so much aggressive, just like protective kind of pose, and he's staggered to about 15 feet away and is probably on one knee. And He just says in a shocked tone, "So it is sorcery. We've been deceived."
And he kind of shrinks back to normal size. Now he's a diminutive old man again with his staff. Not sorcery, Targon. Not sorcery. Something much more benevolent. Something capable of forgiveness, dare I say. Oh, you and your brother have indeed become quite haughty. But one cannot operate in this Middle Earth without forgiving the hearts and minds of men. Buka-gan, I have known him for a few years, and he is a forgiving sort. And his wife as well. Perhaps one day you will be a guest in her house. But until then, I bid the three of you lend me your ear. Perhaps redeeming yourself will salve your soul and bring that glory upon your house, Nibilzio, that you so dearly desire.
Targon is really unsure of how to deal with this. He does seem benevolent, but he definitely showed some magic and something he's associates with the shadow, but it doesn't seem like this man can be. So Targon sort of reluctantly sheathes his sword, but he looks wary and looks like he's ready to grab his sword again at any time. Not through aggression, but through genuine fear here. He really feels like that there is one thing he can't fight. He's experienced sorcery, and he knows he can't fight it. It does scare him. So he's definitely feeling intimidated here, and very, very uncertain, out of his depth, and he knows it.
What does Hallas and Baranor think and feel?
Go ahead, Baranor.
The kingdom of men is weak.
Kingdom of Men has always been weak. Every time it's the same old shit. Second age, first age, third age, always weak. Baranor, he just looks at the wizard grow and kind of go back down, and he's standing there with his sword ready. And then when the wizard goes back to normal and talks about forgiveness, yes, forgiveness. But then this land has not been forgiving, has it? Since the time we have stepped on this land, much has happened to us. And we are still here. Even the way Buka-gan introduced himself to us today morning was with a spear and not a light tap of a friend.
And then after we showed him courtesy, he insulted me.
But forgiveness. It seems the land and its people require forgiveness, but are free to do what they will. Maybe it is us, the outsiders to this Middle Earth, that do not seem to get along. But forgiveness it shall be. We shall endure our years, O wizard, for you have shown how powerful you are. So be it.
And Targon nods to Baranor and says, "Forgiveness it shall be." He turns around to Buka-gan and says, "Buka-gan, forgive your insult."
Buka-gan just make sure that you notice that he's far away from his spear, and he's not going to come after you because he doesn't want to mess with Targon. Good with swords, bad with words. And there's like a little cutscene of Alatar, and there's a kind of an evening there's an owl. You hear an owl who, and he kind of he seems, you don't know he's looking at the owl, but he kind of looks up over your heads and mentally just kind of talking with this owl. I know, my feathered friend. It's always the same story. But they may be redeemed yet. If they respect power, show them power. For not all men know, for not even the wise know. What's the quote? Not even the wise know the ends of all means to ends, or whatever. He says,
the wise can see all ends, is it?
Not even the wise can see all ends. And he kind of says the owl, may be that their lust of power serves some greater purpose. Some counter chord to the one's great sermon. Either way, they are with me around this fire now. They are stranded here upon the shore. My time with them should be well spent if it is spent at all. So alas, let's make some good of it. And then he kind of comes back to himself. Says, yes, some have called me powerful in the past, although I tried not to make a show of it. But in this instance, I think such intervention was warranted. Now, as for where I've been this past day, Buka-gan, I have found the threat to your family. A shadow has crept into this mountains that I have not heard or seen for many a long years. Hallas, Baranor, Targon, do you know the tale of the men who lived in these mountains?
No, we do not.
Do not.
But we are eager to hear.
Surprised you do not with that jewelry around your neck.
Ah.
And he just kind of continues unless you say something.
Targon looks a little confused, but this guy says a lot of confusing stuff, so he just shrugs and moves on.
He's a wizard. He's a wizard.
Yeah.
He does what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baranor looks at him confused with the word jewelry around his neck, and he's like, "Huh?" You know, that kind of like that quizzical look.
He's subtle and quick to anger.
This world, this honor is older than you likely know or can even fathom. There are ages upon ages in the past. Ages without stars, without sun, without moon, without trees any. In fact, there is an age with 2 trees that illumine the sky with a bright, warm light that, well, I can scarcely remember in this particular form. But in one age, in the first age before this, an age where your forebears acted perhaps more heroic than thine self, the men of this region of these mountains, they fell under the sway of the Dark One, known as Morgoth. Being afraid of the dark, being afraid of the wilderness, they succumbed to the lash. They bent the knee to his might, worshipping the only thing they knew, power in all of its forms. They left these mountains and fled to the east. Most of them perished. Some of them retreated in fear, but they left behind them kingdoms. Kingdoms that may have been founded with the best intentions. But once the Dark Lord Morgoth came and his lieutenants came with their thunderous footsteps, they were turned to wickedness, as the hearts of most men are. But they left behind them tunnels, dungeons, chambers that of old tortured many men and women. Buka-gan and his family, 300 years ago, found these. And now they grow green with vines. Their terraces grow fruit, don't they, Buka-gan? But again, shadow has crept into those dark places. This past day, I found the source of that shadow. Orcs. Orcs are multiplying in the White Mountains. That is what is scaring your people, Buka-gan, what is slaying many of your friends and family. These are creatures that I have not seen in a very, very long time. The three of you have heard of orcs from like 1,000 years ago, but they're gone, right? You have not heard that word except for the mythologies that you read. So I'll let you kind of role play how you respond.
Targon speaks very carefully because he knows clearly wielding a lot of power. But he's also seen him get really confused a couple of times, particularly about his memories. But sir, I hesitate to say this, but would perhaps your recollection of these events be a little jumbled? You have mentioned that your memories are oft confused. There have been no orcs in these lands for many generations, even of my people who are counted long-lived among the men of Middle-earth.
Kev laughs. What did you have for breakfast 3 Thursdays ago, Targon?
I cannot recall.
Can you recall the name of the first girl you fell in love with?
Targon says, no, there have been so many, but you can tell by his face that that's probably a lie.
He kind of grumbles. He kind of grumbles. All men remember the first. And he says, "You do not know how memory works, let alone the memory of a wizard. You can lord yourself over my friend Buka-gan, but do not lord yourself over me." He even probably. Okay, we're used to just kind of meta here. The Gandalf, the very humble wizard, he's a little more like he has a little more edge than Gandalf.
Right.
Because some of the lore says they don't know what happened, but maybe eventually, once they got to the east, the Blue Wizards ended up founding their own schools of magic and bad shit.
Oh, right.
So.
Targon said, I meant no insult, just that you say cannot be true. Striving to understand.
What do men say? What is that trite term? Seeing is believing, no? Oh. It is nighttime. And we are but several hours' journey to these tunnels. Come now. Come hither, brave men of Westerness, men of Numenore, who come out of the sea as teachers, but now you show yourselves as tyrants. Come prove your valor. Follow this old man. Huh?
No tyrant, sir. I will fight the shadow wherever I find it. I have been no great success as a explorer or a captain. I can be a success as a... Well, fight the shadow. I will die fighting. I will defeat the shadow or die. And he looks grimly determined. He also looks quite prepared that if Alatar's going to keep bragging him, he'll stand for it. Not that he's going to like threaten him physically or anything, but he won't back down from saying what he.
Alatar kind of looks up at the owl that nobody can see again. Kind of mentally says to him, "Oh, see you there, my friend. Even a discordant part of the song can make itself useful as contrast to the harmony. Perhaps that is the case with these men. Either way, we'll all be into the great service of are one true Lord of Yuvatar. What say you, Baranor and Hallas? Are you up to do a little delving? A little fighting? You'll return as heroes.
Go ahead, Hallas.
Hallas has been perked up since the wizard grew himself and showed his power. Try not to show fear, of course, because he is a man of westernness, but he is still in awe. After hearing the story, and especially being called out in a way by Alatar. Yes. At least I shall go on this journey. Not to just come back as a hero, but because it is part of a journey, an adventure. This just leads to a new path, and that path leads to a new path. One that I can follow and see, experience new things. See these orcs that have been gone for all these years, thriving in tunnels. Yes, I will see them, and if they are there, I will kill them, for they are the shadow. But I do not speak for my two friends, but, and he looks at Baranor and looks over at Targon, I do know that they will accompany me. For after all, it is a journey, an adventure. It is what we seek.
Well said, Hallas. And our duty is clear. Fight the shadow, wherever we find it. Targon does appear resolved. And he looks across to Baranor. Right, my brother?
Always. This day has been filled with words and not enough action. We have been accused of many things. Tyrants, ill men, men who do not greet other people well. But the time has come for us to bear our arms and show our true selves. And that is if the way Alatar here and Buka-gan wish to use us, then so be it. Maybe then they'll understand a little bit of us and who we are and what we have faced to get here, and not sit in just judgment of our actions just here. So be it. Show us the way, Alatar. Show us the way, Buka-gan. Let us be of service to you and then judge us again.
As you say that, Alatar leans his face closer to you, Baranor, and you see the red firelight reflected on his harsh facial lines, his high cheekbones, his scraggly beard. Very well, Baranor. Very well. We will set off at once. And unless anybody has anything else, we'll just wrap it up then. There. Short and sweet sesh.
Yeah!
2 hours and 13 minutes.